Welcome to the third and final part of this Amiga Seamaster service. The first step is we're going to add the dial, being careful not to mark it when turning the cams to secure the dial in place. Next we're going to add the hour hand, making sure that the date changes exactly when the hour hand passes the 12 indicator on the dial. It can be quite tricky to line it up exactly, and sometimes it takes a few attempts, but once it's done we'll repeat the process with the minute hand, again making sure the date changes as close to 12 as possible. Normally there is a tolerance of plus or minus 5 minutes for this. On this occasion I have the date changing just after 12, so we can now add the second hand knowing all the hands are properly aligned. We're now going to replace the glass gasket in the case, so we'll start by removing the glass with a press. It's important to do this in order to maintain the water resistance of the watch, and it's done as part of every service. Replacing the new gasket is a process of fitting it into the designated slot in the case. When gaskets get old, the plastic tends to become brittle and crack, allowing water to seep inside the watch, causing potentially devastating damage to the dial, hands and inner workings of the watch, so it's important that this is replaced. Now the gasket is fitted, we can reinstall the glass, being careful to press it in evenly and avoiding crushing the new gasket. Avoiding this involves lining up the glass carefully and applying an even pressure when pressing the glass in place. We can now begin putting the movement back inside the watch once we're sure the underside of the glass and dial are free of any dirt. Installing the metal spacer keeps the movement secured in place in the watch and is fastened by 2 feet and screws. We can also replace the crown and stem after lubricating the tube with foam and grease. The final step before replacing the automatic system is to install the brake, which stops the watch when put into handset mode to allow you to set the watch to the second. Installing the auto system consists of securing 3 screws in place, and once this is done the movement is complete inside the watch. The final step before closing the watch is to replace the rubber caseback gasket. Similar to the glass gasket, these expire and become brittle, but replacing them is a much more straightforward process. We can add the anti-magnetic plate and finally close the watch before pressure testing it. Using the Amiga caseback tool allows for an even application of pressure when closing the watch, preventing any distortion of the case. The specially designed pressure tester measures any slight distortion in the case when put under intense atmospheric pressure. If there is no distortion detected, it means that air is being allowed to enter and exit the case, meaning there is a leak. The slight distortion means the case is completely sealed and will be resistant to any water ingress. This allows us to test for water resistance without the risk of flooding the movement, as the process is completely dry. Here is the previously over-polished clasp as mentioned in part 1 of the series, but once the bracelet is secure, the watch is now complete and is ready to go through our testing process over a number of days, ensuring the timekeeping is up to standard. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for a vintage Rolex Air King restoration. If you have any questions or inquiries, feel free to comment or leave us a DM.